Steve Melewski joins us right now from MASNsports.com. Steve, thanks for the time today. Wow, he's back on the mound. I think that's the biggest news here. He had the calcification of the shoulder after the issues there. So how's Bundy looking?
Well, you know, we got a quick 7-pitch look, so I hope you didn't blink and missed it. But at least he's back on the mound, and that is the good news. And as we know, this kid's been through a lot. In May of this year, he was pitching well at Bowie. He had some starts where the 96 and 97 was coming back, and it looked like he was finally about through with Tommy John rehab. Then the calcification of the shoulder issue cropped up, which to hear Dr. Andrews tell it is very rare. And the good news was it's not a procedure. He didn't get cut on. There's no surgery. It was just the rest and the rehab, and finally they reached the point where they can get him back on the mound. So they're excited about that because when this kid is healthy, and we have to go back to 2012 for complete health, we saw how good he can be, and being out of options, he's going to impact the 2016 Orioles.
What's the plan coming into spring training? Do they see him as I realize he has to be on the roster next year because of his contract, but do they see him as a starter or as a reliever, or what's the plan going into spring training?
You know what, Mel, they have not laid that out yet, but I'm going to guess that it's going to be hard for him to be a starter. I mean, you look at how few innings he has been able to pitch in 2014, 41, and in 2015, 22. I mean, this kid right now, he needs innings, and he needs experience because in his entire life in the pros, 167 innings, not even 40 yet at the AA level. So while he's a talented young kid, very strong work ethic, and with first-round draft pick and all the talent in the world, which, you know, 2012 he buzzed through the system before the Tommy John, you know, you just can't pack too many innings on him coming off these injuries. That's going to be a real challenge for the Orioles to keep him on the roster, to keep him in a role where he can help the team but not have a lot of innings. I'm going to guess they can't go past 100. That's just me guessing. No one from the club has laid that out yet, and I think they'll probably wait to see how this winter goes. You know, maybe they could even get him in some winter ball after the Arizona Fall League. I don't think they've ruled that out.
Well, to me anyway, Steve, it's wishful thinking to say he's going to make an impact on the 2015 Orioles. I think at this stage of the game, I certainly don't expect him to be on the opening day active roster, and I think that we're looking at another stint on the DL at least long enough to give him some innings in the minor leagues.
That's possible. When you're out of options, unless you're put through waivers, which it seems to me there's almost no way we can expect to see that, you're going to have to be on the active roster or on the Major League DL, and then you can pitch rehab innings on a rehab assignment, and that has a time limit to it of 30 days, and you can try to get a second one. So that could be a possibility that he will build up innings early in the year as he works his way to the active roster.
Steve, when Bundy got drafted, all we heard about him was how much of a fitness freak he was. He went through those workouts that were on YouTube that were designed to strengthen his shoulder, strengthen his elbow. Everyone talked about how he was built like a rock. And then he seemingly just has one injury after another over the last few years. I guess the question is, how frustrated are the Orioles? How frustrated is the fan base that we haven't really gotten to see the Dylan Bundy that we know he can be?
I think, Dan, there's frustration everywhere because, and the complicating factor here is he got drafted in the last year when a kid could be signed to a major league contract. That ended with the CBA after he was drafted. So he was in the last year of that, and that has hurt him at this point. I mean, he had 4 options. They've all been used. When you're signed to a minor league contract, you're on the 40-man roster the day you're signed. So that's worked against Bundy here. If he had options remaining, this would be less of an issue. They'd send him to the minors all next year, let him get experience, and see if he can turn out to be good enough to help the big league club. But that major league contract that he was signed to, that's coming back to haunt them now because 2 of those 4 years were basically wasted in the rehab from Tommy John. So it's a tough spot. But this kid, I will say, the one person who's never gotten frustrated, and I got to give him credit for this, is Dylan Bundy. And I've interviewed this kid probably dozens of times at this point. He's unfailingly positive. The work ethic has never waned. He's always pointing to the big leagues. He wants to learn. He's coachable. And so you hear a lot of good things about this kid who just needs to get health now.
Well, obviously, given the circumstances, he's really in no position to say, I'm going to be a starter, I'm going to be a reliever. Now, You know him. Is his attitude such that if the Orioles say we want to use you as a one-out guy, as a specialist, he's going to say fine?
Oh, absolutely. I think he will do anything that they think he can do to help the major league team win. I've never heard Dylan Bundy say, I got to be a starter, and I think he's realistic to know, Phil, the inning situation he's facing, that you can't go from pitching 22 innings in Double-A in 2015 and throw 175 in 2016. I mean, a major league veteran coming off Tommy John, who in his past had 150 or 200 innings on his resume, that would be different. But this is a young kid. He's still a big talent. He's still, they hope, part of their future for 6, 8, 10, 12 years. So they can't be crazy with how they use him and risk another injury. The caution has to be the word here, which is frustrating at that word Dan used for everybody, because they still have to be a little cautious with this kid as they have to have him on the roster.
Steve, describe his pitching mechanics. Are the Orioles doing anything different with him because of the injuries? And what kind of mechanics does he have?
He has very good mechanics. They're a little rigid. It's not the fluid, loose mechanics you see of, say, a Hunter Harvey, but it's very structured. It's very online. There wasn't a lot of tinkering the Orioles did with him in 2012. I mean, this kid sat in the mid-90s, touching the high 90s. The curveball was exceptional of quality back before he got the surgery. And they really worked hard on his changeup that first year in pro ball when he was 19 years old in 2012. And that came a long, long way. By the end of that year, his changeup was at times a plus pitch. So before Tommy John surgery, he was about the best pitching prospect in baseball, and now he wants to get back to that. And I'll add that when he began his pro career, I don't think we'll ever see this again. He went to Delmarva, and he threw 30 innings, allowing no earned runs on 5 hits with 2 walks and 40 strikeouts. I don't think we're going to see a dominant 30 innings at single A like that again from a pitcher, but that's how his pro career started. So the talent is still there. You don't want to overhype him because he's been through so much, and fans have been frustrated by the slowness of this, but you know, he just needs to get innings, and he's still got the talent he had in 2012, in my opinion.
Yeah, but you saw those 2 walks, Steve, and you knew something just wasn't right.
His command was off. There was one game and 1 inning, his command was off, I think. I don't understand it.
Yeah, me neither. Hey, thanks a lot for the time. Enjoy the sun and take care of yourself, Steve.
All right, guys. See ya.
All right, very good. Steve Melewski from MASNsports.com.